Sports fans and scantily clad young women, what's up? This is Court Vision brought to you by Warren Sports in conjunction with the Sports Kings. I'm the host this evening. My name is Jimmy at JW the Blueprint or plus Jimmy Williams on Google Plus. At the round table, short round table, I got Dev from Warren Sports. What's up, Dev?
What up, what up? Never bust up in the crowd, make the right man believe.
This is true. We got Frank from sports-kings.com.
Yeah, me and Kevin love the same way. We pick, then we pop. Think about
it. Beloved. Listen, as always, let's give a shout out to the players of this week in the National Basketball Association. Dev, who are the players of the week and what their numbers look like?
The players of the week for this past week was one Mr. Paul Millsap of the Atlanta Hawks and Kevin Durant, of course, of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Paul Millsap and the Hawks had a 3-in-1 week. He averaged 21.3 points on 50% shooting, almost 51% shooting, 7.3 rebounds, and 3.8 assists. Also throw in 2.5 steals and 2 blocks. Paul Millsap had a well-rounded week. But on the other side of the coin, Kevin Durant, this guy is still on fire. He has the streak of 30-plus point games with a couple of 40s sprinkled in there. He led Oklahoma City to they had a 4-0 week, but he missed one of the games. So he led them to 3 victories. He averaged 38 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 6.3 assists. And he had a triple-double of 32 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists over my 76ers on January 25th. So shout out to Paul Millsap. Shout out to Kevin Durant. God damn.
That's how you know a man's on fire when he misses a game and he's still the player of the week because just even in the games that he played, he's still everybody.
Yo, Kevin Durant
he left them with enough energy to win that game without him. Like we don't.
Also, shout out to Paul Millsap. No matter how many times you tell people Paul Millsap's underrated, it just seems like nobody can give him any love.
Yeah. But back to Kevin Durant, though, because we don't care about Paul Millsap. Kevin Durant right now is out of his mind, yo. I don't know, what's going on with this young man, but he's playing out of his mind. He's still ain't better than LeBron, in my opinion. But, and those guys went at it.
Yeah, they had their little matchup. Of course, like I always tell you guys, it was another overhyped regular season game because the game ended up being a blowout, even though OKC had a deficit early in the game. But Kevin Durant just made Miami his town for the night.
Yeah, bottom line is Kevin Durant is taking those limitless pills.
He is hot,
yo.
Like Cliff Livingston.
Yeah, he's drawn right now, yo. But speaking of a player filling up the stat sheet, this past week, Carmelo Anthony, he went ballistic. He went for 62 points. Had 0 turnovers. Much was made about him having 0 assists as well, but he had 0 turnovers. And did you guys see the hate that Melo got for someone who scored 62?
Yeah, that's crazy.
First of all, I'm going to hate a little bit here because 62, that's not really impressive because my man, Brendan Haywood, he'd go for 80 if you just give him the ball. But I agree with you guys. We've been monitoring our social media pages ever since that happened. And it seems like, since Melo is the trendy player to bash these days in the NBA, even when he does something this well, even if you're a fan that doesn't like him, just give him a break for a night. The man scored 62 points without a turnover, but all we want to, focus on is that he didn't have any assists. But when they won the game, he had 62 points, and that should probably be number one, but he had 62 points. They're feeding him. He's the hot hand. It doesn't matter how many assists, if any, he has in a 62-point night. Who cares?
Yeah, I completely agree.
True.
I've been historically critical of Melo, but you score 62 points, you just drop the mic. That's it. It's over. There's no rebuttal.
At least for that week it is.
Yeah, it really is.
Till next week.
Yo, and I hear you about Brendan Haywood, but what if my man right here, Spencer Hawes, had the green light? How much would he score?
He top 5. He probably get 90.
Yeah, top 5 center in the East right there, man. Top 5 center.
Him.
But yo,
dead or alive.
Yeah, and we know Melo gets a lot of hate. A lot of it is because of playing in the shadow of a Durant or LeBron. A lot of it is because he plays in New York, and a lot of it is because it seems as though we always need someone to hate. And now LeBron is a family man, according to Samsung. We have to move on from hating LeBron, and we have to figure out a new person to hate. And Melo is that player right now that we have to hate.
Jimmy,
I don't hate any of them. Never hated LeBron either,
but it's all about who people care for personally. Because a lot of the criticism that I hear of Carmelo, I'm like, wouldn't the same thing apply for like a Kevin Durant? They're talking about his assists, but they both average like 3-point-something assists for their career. Like LeBron's on another level because, you know, he's the best all-around player in the game. He's going to give you a lot of assists. He's going to give you a lot of rebounds. It just seems like people pick and choose who they want to bash. Carmelo is not that type of player, so I think people keep looking at LeBron and trying to hold all of his contemporaries to that standard, and I don't really think that's fair because everybody doesn't come into the league as, you know, an athletic Magic Johnson clone. You know,
yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Isn't everyone's thing.
Right. I think the other reason people hate Melo, whether it's right or not, is I think he's sort of the one that they blame as like this diva personality. Like his forced trade from Denver is like the first really big diva in like this new era of players, and I think people sort of like see him as the catalyst for like people like, you know, Chris Paul and Dwight Howard and all these people that are kind of like trying to push their way out of certain situations. And I think people blame Melo because his doing that in Denver is kind of the first time we've seen that in the modern era where a superstar is kind of like dictated where he's going.
What a bunch of divas. All right, now here's my question, though. With that being said, the Knicks have a decision to make because Melo can become a free agent. A lot of people are speculating that he wants to go to L.A. I've heard for either team, as a matter of fact. So what do the Knicks do? Let me ask you, gentlemen, what do the Knicks do? Do the Knicks try to move him before the season's out? Do they wait till after the season's over and then see what they can do then? And if Melo leaves, where should he go?
I think it's one of those situations where, I mean, they have to try their hardest to get a gauge of what he might be thinking. Personally, I think if Melo opts out, I think he's gone. The Knicks are in a situation right now that doesn't really look like it can be salvaged, you know, in a timely manner. We know these guys want to go to situations where they can win now or at least compete to win now. And I think that's what he thought he was doing when he came to the Knicks. You know, that plus, you know, the big market, you know, his wife having reality shows, all that garbage. But
the Knicks are back.
I don't know. Like I said, they would have to try to gauge what he's thinking and what he might do. If I had no information to go on and I just had to use my gut feeling, if I were the Knicks, I would just go ahead and try to shop him right now before I end up losing him for nothing. So
what do you think?
They don't hold the cards.
I think there's what they should do and what they will do. I don't think they're going to trade Melo before their trade deadline. But I think they should definitely explore it. I think a good home would be Jimmy's Los Angeles Lakers. I think that would be great for him to be in LA, another big city where, with fans that are more LA fans are more understanding of the concept of building a basketball team. Like they understand like you have to be bad sometimes. Like sometimes you got to go through the rough patches, whereas New York fans just want to win all the time. They don't care what's going on. But LA has
like what in their past dictates that attitude. I don't get it. I never got it.
The Knicks fans.
I think the thing is this though. Once you get it right, once you get a team right, it takes time to build it. Then you can be competitive for years to come. I mean, that's the thing about the NBA. I was thinking about this today because I was, of course, arguing with someone who was slandering Melo about not winning a championship. And I'm like, are you serious? How many players actually win a championship in the NBA? I said, and therefore, how many teams win? When you look at the NBA titles, it's like about 4 guys that have like 70% of all the titles, like Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, like who is it? Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, Doan Popovich, and Pat Riley. Yo, they got like 70% of every title ever. Any NBA title ever. Like over 60% of them are from those 4 gentlemen. Like, so once you get it right, you get it right. So the thing is, you have to build a team. But my thing is, how did the Knicks get this bad this fast? Because it looked a couple of years ago like they could at least compete. No one thought they could win a title, but at least compete. And now it just looks like they need to blow everything up and start. So what happened to the Knicks? That's the first question. And I mean, there's no way he can compete for a title there. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the main thing that happened was Amari Stoudemire isn't Amari Stoudemire anymore. So, I mean, when you're paying $20 million to your eighth man, basically, that's not, now you just have cap flexibility issues and all that kind of stuff.
So basically that bad contract.
Right, that bad contract, along with paying J.R. Smith and just
play ball anymore.
Right, and they don't have any assets. That's their problem. Is that they spent all their assets trying to get Melo, and now they don't have anything to work with to build around him.
Right. Yeah, I think something going back to what Frank said earlier about the mind state of Knicks fans versus Lakers fans. I'm still like puzzled by that because he's absolutely right, but you would think it's the other way around. You would think that Los Angeles would have the more spoiled fan base, and the Knicks fans would be more understanding of trying to build a team. I guess it's maybe because they've been trying to build a winner for so long, but it's always a contract thing. They always dole out a lot of money to players that aren't worth it, and they always get stuck without assets, as Frank said, nothing to trade to make their team better, to build around the one good player, the one truly good player that they have. So they find themselves back in this position time and time.
Yeah, the biggest point to that is this season. This season with the Lakers being so bad, I interact with a lot of Lakers fans. I haven't really heard anybody being like, man, this sucks, we're terrible this year. They're just like, listen, Kobe's injured, we're going to trade Powell, rigging for Wiggins, we're all tank it up, you know what I mean? Like they understand the big picture.
Because you have to, you got to see the big picture, you got to see the large picture, man. Listen, here's the thing, right? With the Knicks and giving out big deals, Dev, you made a great point that a lot of people don't realize, because you talk about a Magic Johnson has, so many championships, 5 titles, Jordan has 6, and Kareem. People don't realize that, like, when you win championships, it's not just the players, it's not just the coach, it's the front office. It's so many things that have to happen. Like, winning a championship in any sport, whether we're talking football, basketball, baseball, it isn't easy. Even if you have the best team on paper, it doesn't mean you'll win. Like, even with the whole LeBron and the, those 3 going to Miami or whatever, Pat Riley has made a lot of moves that have helped them win the championship. If they don't go get Ray Allen, do they win last year?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like Shane Battier,
there's so many small Shane Battier, like Birdman. There are moves that are being made that a lot of times people don't they don't look at that. But championships are won in the front office. They're won on the court. It's like a collective effort, and a lot of times people don't realize that. And with the Knicks have made so many bad front office decisions. If you go back to Eddie Curry, you look at the Stoudemire deal, you look at the money they gave J.R. Smith, and they brought his brother along. Like, the Knicks, to me, have failed when it comes to the front office. And when you fail there, or if you look at San Antonio and their success, look at all the smart moves they made in terms of, getting the foreign players and building up that talent. Look at the drafting of an OKC that's been competitive. So it takes a lot to build a team. I think they need to get someone in the front office that's going to make the right decisions.
Right. And see, I think the Lakers are the complete opposite of the Knicks in that regard, because there's a lot of people kind of reveling in the hurt in Los Angeles right now. But what I have to keep reminding people, like, this is an organization that they never stay down for too long. Now, the only uncertainty we have there, and Jimmy always reminds me of this, is that Buss's son is running the ship now, so we don't know if they're going to bounce back like they usually bounce back. But just like when Shaq left, it wasn't. People don't realize it wasn't just Shaq. Like, that whole nucleus left: Shaq, Ori, Fox, Peyton, Malone. All those people left at the same time. A lot of people thought, oh, Shaq left, see, Kobe can't win. But they went through their growing pains, and then a few years later, 2 more titles. So
Yeah, because they brought back one of those guys I just talked about. They brought back one of those guys I just talked about.
It's hard for the Knicks to bounce back because, I don't know, it's like the instantaneous gratification of signing some players so you can make a run that year, and then you're not really looking towards the future.
The Knicks are like those guys that always have like those get-rich-quick schemes, and like they don't want to do all the work. Exactly. They just want to put a big, just a quick scam on you. But I think the other place for Melo that would be great for him would be Chicago, because he wouldn't have to be the leader there. They already have talent around him. I think the wild card is D Rose, obviously, if he can come back and be D Rose. But they got a coach that dictates what's going on there. Like, Mike Woodson he builds off of the players. Like, he kind of goes with what the players want. He really doesn't have complete control. Like, you go to Chicago and you're doing it Thibodeau's way, and that's it. Like, it's game over.
Playing defense.
Quiet as kept, Thibodeau might be the best coach in the league. But my thing is, can Thibodeau get Melo to play defense? Because he's a the defensive guy. Could he get Melo to play defense? If he gets Melo to play, I mean,
I think Melo's experience. I think Melo's experience in New York has probably the next place that he goes, he's going to give it his all because he's seen what the other way is like when no matter what you do, you're basically the bad guy. So I think he's going to want to go somewhere and basically be, just let me know what I need to do.
If Thibodeau can get him to play defense, he should be coach of the year right there. Like, just flat out. Melo doesn't guard anybody. But with that being said, I also think that's a great destination. Of course, D-Rose is the wild card. But if he just leaves New York without a sign and trade, he's leaving a lot of bread on the table. What do you guys think about that? You think he'll just stay in New York just for the money? Because let's keep it real. Like, we always say guys want to win championships. Guys also want to, stack their chicken. So
I don't say that shit. That's all these naive fans out here that think that's what these guys get in front of the camera and tell you what you want to hear, and you all believe it.
The thing about
there's a lot of chicken to think about.
I never forget when KG signed for that huge record-breaking deal. The first thing he said when he sat down, like, it's not about the money. Like, are you serious? You just signed with like Minnesota, but it's not about the money. You signed the biggest contract in sports, but it's not about the money.
If it's not about the money, you get out of Minnesota just because of the weather. If it's not about the money.
Exactly.
The weather
the fact of the matter is, man.
The only thing I will say is that the money thing is a bit overrated because people always throw that $30 million mark out at you, but that doesn't include the fact that you can sign for 5 years with the team that you're with and only 4 years at another place that you go, but you're still going to get paid in that fifth year. And if you're still a max player, you're still getting that max.
But it depends on how old you are.
That's the thing, though. That's a huge risk.
It depends on how good you are.
And also, Frank, that's it, Dev. Exactly what you said. But also, people always say, well, it's $30 million. What's the difference? He's already got 100. Like, it's $30 million. That's the difference. Like, it's $30 million. And that's the thing. That's another thing too. Y'all gotta stop counting people's money, man. Y'all don't know what Melo got going on, man. They might got some child support we don't know about. We just don't know. $30 million.
He might just like money. He might not have any problems. $30 million is $30 million. Like $30 million to $30 million. Like, and Frank, I hear what you're saying, but I don't want to take that chance. Like, well, I could sign another. Give me the guaranteed 30 right now. Now. If you owe me $310 and you got $300, I'm not gonna say, all right, keep the other 10. I'm like, no, you give me my $10 when you get it.
Listen, man.
Money is money.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like people are crazy. Like, when you hear some of the stuff, like, and so that will be a factor, man. So shout out to Melo for that, man. Greed is good, man. Greed works.
That check, Melo. We're not knocking anybody's hustle.
Little Gordon Gekko right there, but
he did it
so
for
of course,
love.
you guys, you say the LA team, Chicago.
Yeah.
Any other teams you think that he could possibly fit?
I mean, I don't really see any that have the cap room and really the foundation because I think any other place that he would go aside from that, he would just basically be in the same situation he's in with the Knicks.
You go to the
just in a different place.
They take everybody.
Yeah, but if Bosch leaves, he can go to. Or somebody leaves Miami, he could just slip right in there.
Just pay the luxury tax.
Then Bosch will leave.
They can afford.
Bosch will leave. Melo will go in. They wouldn't win a championship, and they would blame Melo.
Everybody blame it.
Blame it on Melo individually. So listen, man. Melo should go to the Spurs. Find a way to sign Melo to the Spurs. But I mean,
I think everybody should go to the Spurs. That's just me. Every time somebody's a free agent, I'm like, go to the Spurs. Pop will coach you up. It'll be fine.
I want to see a new wave of players going to small markets, like just changing the whole game. Although, they call me Big Market Jim because I believe in all the big markets. But I think it would be funny if the star players just started signing in like random Midwest towns. Like they said, they're signing everybody to play for the Bucks.
You just see, I was just going to say, you see Melo forcing a trade to Milwaukee. Like, I'm only signing with Milwaukee. That's
Chris Paul come there and team up with him.
Chris Paul, Melo, and Milwaukee. But both of you guys are in agreement that Melo should get out of NY, right?
Yeah, it's time to get out of Dodge.
I think it's time. It didn't work.
All right, so the last question
I'm not blaming it all on him, but it didn't work.
It didn't work. Okay, so you guys think he should get. My last question is this: will he leave New York?
No, I don't think he will.
It goes back to.
All right, Frank says he stayed. Frank says he stays. He keeps that money.
It goes back
what
to
do
what we
you
just
say?
talked about.
Will he leave?
I
What's your prediction?
I think there's a chance he can be lured to LA. I'd say the only place he'd leave for is LA. So I'll say yeah.
Now is that Clippers or Lakers? Because the Clippers are
Lakers,
they're in the mix now.
They be alright.
No, it's funny though, because we still be disrespecting the Clippers. We treat the Clippers like it's the Clippers that we grew up watching. They're still the Clippers. They gotta win like 4 chips.
They need more people.
The other thing you got to remember about the Lakers is they're going to have Kevin Love at that point. Pretty much, it's pretty much locked in right now. Kevin Love's going to be there, so
the Lakers
might lower Melo
set themselves up to get some free agents. You know, there's not a lot of people on that roster who are under contract next season. You know, somehow if they can get Steve Nash bought out or something like that, and you know, you can start thinking about Kevin Love and Melo. Make a super team up in LA and see what they can do before Kobe dies.
Mean.
Kobe,
damn.
He old. He about to die.
Yeah, shout out to Kobe Bryant, man. Kobe Bryant is 67 years old, but he's still fighting to come back. That's been delayed, man. Like, yo, it is funny though, because as a Lakers fan, of course you have to be a fan of Kobe Bryant. You can't be a Lakers fan without being a fan of Kobe. But I don't want to see him go out this way, man. I wish he just wouldn't have. Yo, like this is sad now, man. Like. I saw him on the bench the other night, like making a struggle face.
That's why they lead Love and Melo, because they can be his crutches, you know, possibly to contend again. And even if they don't win, he can go out, you know, with some kind of dignity. So
my man Kobe's gonna come off the bench for 8 minutes a game. He's gonna hold that ring that he wins like he was Jordan.
Yeah, I just don't want to see him hanging around like Kevin Garnett. And although they're playing better, and I know that's your team, Frank, but. Yo, me and Dev talk about this all the time. Like, at times I forget how good Garnett was, because now he's just like another one of those guys.
Yo, Kevin Garnett like no longer has post moves. Like, when Kevin Garnett goes in the post, he fades away and shoots a jumper. Just think about that. Like, the Kevin Garnett that we knew, like dunking it over people and all that. He doesn't even know what the rim is anymore.
I forget
how good he was.
Without taking the time to give it thought just off the cuff, I would say that Kevin Garnett is a top 5 power forward of all time. But anybody, I don't know. There's a lot of people under 30, or they probably wouldn't know that because they're getting the bulk of what they're seeing is like Celtics Kevin Garnett on. And even when they were winning even when they won a championship in green, he wasn't the same Kevin Garnett that he had in Minnesota.
And by the way, Frank, up until like 2 weeks ago, Dev was still arguing that KG was better than Duncan. So he didn't let that go for a long. He wouldn't let that go for a long time.
There was a long time when I wouldn't let that go. But
Minnesota Kevin Garnett was not even near Tim Duncan.
He
said off the top he was a top 5 power forward. Of course, you want to have the Trinity, which I always think of as Barkley, Malone, and Duncan. Who else would you put up there?
Probably Kevin Garnett and McHale, maybe.
All right, McHale.
You do have a lot of people that I have to put thought into. Like that was just all. I'll say arguably
KG
top
definitely
5
discussion. I mean, I mean personally, you got to put Dirk in there. I would think he's one of the greatest power forwards of all time.
At his peak, I would probably take McHale over KG. Now the question is, would you take Dirk over KG?
That's the debate to me. I mean, I think that's the 5th spot because I think McHale's definitely better than KG. I would say, not definitely, but I think it's pretty clear.
See, Dirk brought something,
and then I think it would just be KG versus Dirk.
You always have to consider. Like Dirk brought something else to the position that you had to consider. So it's basically what kind of, when you're looking at your top 5, like what kind of team, what kind of power forward are you looking to have? So Dirk, he makes the argument very difficult. Dirk step out and do all kinds of options.
Yeah, but he's put it like this. We can say without question.
Right,
he's arguably top 5, definitely top.
Arguably definitely top 7.
Definitely top 10. All right, well listen. For the people that watch this video, we have a couple questions. First off, should Melo leave? Will Melo leave? Where should he go if he does leave? Where do the Knicks go from here? We got a bunch of questions. I'm just throwing them all out there. And last one, KG. Is KG a top 5 power forward of all time? And if you had to, go with Dirk versus KG, who are you taking, Dirk or KG? It's a good question. Anyway, gentlemen, you got any last thoughts before we get out of here?
looking forward to the dunk contest. No, I'm not. It's not true.
No, you're really not. You're really
That's
not.
not true.
All right, no doubt.
To the skills challenge.
I'm now. It's funny though, because now I'm sitting here like just thinking about that question: Dirk versus KG. That's a tough one. I like that one. But some good stuff you guys brought.
I have a quick thought.
Go ahead.
I have a quick thought since Frank did bring up All-Star Weekend. How did New Orleans get All-Star Weekend? That's a serious question. Is it some pulse? They're still doing favors for Katrina or something like that? Because I've been to that arena. How does that arena get an All-Star game? Seriously.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily the arena or the city, because New Orleans is still a great city.
I was saying it has to be the city, but I still thought they were doling those out to people who had fairly new arenas and. So
man, it's about everything surrounding the game.
I would say instead of making up for Katrina, I think they're still trying to make up for the veto trade. I think there was some kind of deal set in place that all right, we're going to veto this trade, and then for the next 10 years, we're just going to bring revenue to the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's about everything. It's about everything outside of the game. It ain't about the game at all, or the arena for that matter.
Oh yeah, I forgot that the NBA did own that team for a hot minute, right?
Oh, here comes a conspiracy.
No, it could possibly be getting them revenue so they can get a new arena. So that could be it as well. Because that arena.
Yo,
some David Stern skeletons in New Orleans. You know what I mean?
It stinks.
Ralph Sampson was a power forward too. He interchanged with Hakeem when they played the head of Twin Towers, yo. And
he didn't play long enough.
Just thinking about power forwards, man. That's still like rattling my brain. I love these verses and we try to bring up the old time players because I'm a huge fan of the history of the game.
I love when we do that, and the first thing fans say is this even a question? Is this serious? It's not even close. Enough said. No conversation.
The same people change their mind during the course of the conversation. You asked in the beginning, was this even a real question? But you changed your mind. So obviously
the comment's going to act like Dirk Nowitzki is like Brendan Haywood. Like, why would he even bring it up?
Are we really happy?
I don't know, because here's the thing. I don't know. KG's been hanging around, so he might get the slander this time. We put that out there. KG
it might actually be KG. People are like, is this a real
it might be KG that gets the slander, because I think a lot of people who are in the same boat as I am. But listen, I'm not going to lie. At times I'll be like, I got to remember Minnesota. Like, man. Because in Minnesota, man, KG was a monster. But that's not KG that's playing now. He's staying around way too long. He's like Larry Holmes.
Possible!
He's like Larry Holmes, flabby and thick right now, man. Anyway, with that being said, this has been another episode of Court Vision brought to you by War Room Sports in conjunction with Sports-Kings. Go to sports-kings.com. You can see the Pass the Pill where they talk all about the NBA, and they cover pretty much every sport. Also, go to warroomsports.com to see what we got going on. And don't forget, download those mobile apps because we are mobile. Android, iOS. If you got an iPad, we have an iPad app just for the iPad. That's right, we're doing it mobile now. With that being said, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and I'll see you chumps on top.
Kuwait is the war room with 5 nights at the round table, 5 Philly